Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zeng. Yesterday, former U.S. State of Secretary Mike Pompeo sent a tweet that says Olympic athletes must understand the risk in Beijing. The CCP has built the nastiest surveillance state in history and will monitor everything athletes say and do. Our athletes should leave their phones and laptops at home like I and my team did, and like the Dutch have been told to do. So today I will talk about a topic that I have wanted to talk about for a while. That is how the CCP uses the so-called grid management and digital technology to monitor and manage everyone in society. After listening to what I talk about, you will understand why Pompeo said that the CCP has built the nastiest surveillance state in history. I think every one of us knows the definition of grid. According to the dictionary, a grid is a metal frame with bars across it, a pattern of straight lines that cross either each other and form squares, and a set of numbered lines printed on a map so that the exact position of any place can be referred to, etc. But you can't find the phrase grid management in an English dictionary, as this is a term and a social management system created by the CCP. According to the Chinese search engine Baidu, grid management is an administrative reform that relies on unified urban management as well as a digital platform to divide the urban management jurisdiction into cell grids according to certain criteria. By strengthening the inspection of components and events in each grid, a form of separation between supervision and management is established. So to put it simply, the entire society is divided into many grids of different levels, and grid managers or grid staff are assigned to each grid and are responsible to monitor and respond to everything that happens inside this grid. For example, a community called New Garden in Zhangjiakou City in Hebei province divided the community into 4 different grid levels. The entire community is the level 1 grid. Sub-communities, an entire building and units inside a building are level 2, 3, and 4 grids. The party secretary of the community is the head of the level 1 grid, and the level 2 grids have 132 grid managers. Level 3 have 531 grid staff. Level 4 grids have 1,421 grid staff. And this is in the city. In the rural area, a village is divided into 249 grids. The party secretary is the grid head, and each grid has 1 manager, etc. According to the magazine of the party branch in Shandong province, Shandong province was divided into 168,000 grid cells, with 257,000 grid staff registered to oversee the province, and at least 97,000 party grid branches established. The magazine listed a pilot in the local district called Fushan, where 1 grid staff member was assigned for every 50 households and up to 3 grid assistants for each village. It formed a 5-in-1 network of local party branches from town to district and village level, along with grid staff and grid assistants. Together, the grid staff eliminated governance loopholes in the countryside. It also stresses the successful combination of big data, AI, and the network to ensure 100% surveillance coverage and stability maintenance. Since the outbreak of the CCP virus, the grid management system has also played a big role to achieve the CCP's zero COVID goal. As soon as a case is found somewhere, the entire community is knocked down. At such a time, grid managers are required to go to people's homes to do screening tests, take people's temperatures, ensure they wear masks, etc. For example, 58,000 part-time grid assistants in Beijing once did a door-knocking operation. 170,000 grid managers in Hubei were deployed to do household inspections, and 300,000 grid managers in Jiangsu were required to sink into the community. I don't know exactly what they mean by sinking into the community. I guess it is something like you need to go to inside everyone's homes to check on them. A government document obtained by the Epoch Times mentioned that Xuzhou City in Jiangsu province, the city's grid centers at all levels, 26,000 grid leaders and grid managers had been fully mobilized to prevent and control the pandemic. The document claims that the grid members have provided services such as temperature measurement, shopping for daily necessities, psychological counseling, and emotional guidance to ensure the needs of residents in the grid. Another internal document from the Political and Legal Affairs Commission of Yuncheng County in Shandong Province shows that with the excuse of pandemic control, the CCP had strengthened the monitoring function of the grid management system, and the 1,360 surveillance cameras, all those cameras set up by local governments in 55 grid cells before in the county were integrated and connected to the county's Sharp Eye Project command platform, and the county's 1,100 grid managers and the Sharp Eye Project video monitoring system are used to monitor the entire county 24/7. So this new model was called the Video Monitoring Plus Grid Manager Model. The so-called Sharp Eye Project is the CCP's video surveillance system that covers the county, city, and township areas. And when did the CCP start to implement this grid management system? It started as early as 2001. And the initial need was to control Falun Gong practitioners. If you don't know what Falun Gong is, here is a brief introduction. It is a mind-body-spirit self-improvement system that was first introduced to the public in 1992 in China. Because of its obvious health benefits and because it is free and never charges people money to learn, it developed very fast in China. Within 7 years, Falun Gong had more practitioners than CCP members in China. So the then CCP leader Jiang Zemin decided to eliminate Falun Gong in 1999. Since then, the persecution has never stopped. Millions of Falun Gong practitioners have been imprisoned and tortured. Some are even killed for their organs. So in September 2001, the CCP issued a document called Opinions on Strengthening Comprehensive Management of Social Security. The document required greater control over society and especially mentioned that the monitoring of the populace needed to enter villages and households, and a special staff should be deployed to ensure this. The document specifically said that this is especially needed to be done to Falun Gong practitioners. I think this was because there are too many Falun Gong practitioners in China and they were scattered in all corners of the society. It was estimated that there were 70 to 100 million Falun Gong practitioners in China in 1999, before the persecution. The CCP had never tried to suppress such a large group of people at once as enemies before, so the previous system couldn't deal with the new situation. That's why great managers were needed, so that they could get into every household. So we can say that the need to suppress Falun Gong brought about the idea of the grid management system. In 2004, Dongcheng district in Beijing took the lead in implementing the grid management system. It was initially promoted by the former Ministry of Construction. After that, several dozens of cities, including Shanghai and Changchun, all started to pilot it. Then, different levels of governments across China all set up relevant agencies and formed large teams of grid managers to carry out the CCP's comprehensive social management. In 2013, at the third plenary session of the CCP's 18th Central Committee, it was officially proposed that the grid management system should be combined with the previous social governance system, and the combined system should be the new social governance model and be promoted to the entire country. At present, there are grid-based work institutions all over China. For every grid, there is a grid head, grid managers, information collectors, grid police officers, and grid supervisors, etc. Each grid head is equipped with a handheld grid cell phone to upload the problems within the grid to the higher information platform at any time. There are also information collectors and supervisors outside the grids to monitor how the grids are working. This is an internal document from Heilongjiang province. It shows that in 2015, Heilongjiang province was divided into 42,640 grids with 51,295 grid managers, of whom 22,707 were full-time ones and 22,588 were part-time ones, who were also members of the community, village communities, and village residents group leaders, etc. And the Falun Gong practitioners remain one of the main victims of the CCP's grid management system. According to a report on Falun Gong's website, Minghui.com, in August 2012, a social services administration was set up in Changchun's Nanguan district to pilot the grid management system. Each grid manager was given a GPS-enabled cell phone, which was connected to the control center computer. One of the tasks of grid managers was to monitor Falun Gong practitioners, including uploading information about unconverted Falun Gong practitioners in their grids to the control center. The term conversion refers to the CCP's use of violence and other means to force Falun Gong practitioners to renounce their faith. Bitter Winter magazine, which focuses on human rights situations in China, revealed in September 2019 that the key task of the grid managers is to monitor unstable factors, including dissidents, religious believers, and petitioners. Grid managers are required to patrol the grids under their jurisdiction every day, reporting everything from small neighbor disputes and conflicts to large public protests, etc. According to Bitter Winter, if there are petitions, protests, or mass incidents inside the grid managers will be punished if they failed to report these events within 2 hours. If they fail to monitor so-called sensitive people, such as dissidents, human rights activists, or Falun Gong practitioners, they will be doubly punished. If a grid manager reports a tip about a Falun Gong practitioner or a petitioner, he or she will be rewarded 1,000 yuan for each person detained. The CCP also encourages ordinary citizens to report with money and benefits. For example, in August 2021, the Bureau of Ethnic and Religious Affairs in Taiyuan City, Shanxi Province, issued a document called Reward for the Public for Reporting Illegal Religious Activities. It says that the amount of reward for reporting is generally 200 to 1,000 yuan. If anyone provides clue to major illegal religious activities, the amount of reward can be increased up to 2,000 yuan. And how much is 2,000 yuan in China? There are 600 million people who earn less than 1,000 per month. So for these people, 2,000 yuan is their income for 2 months. Well, the above is basically what the CCP's grid management is all about. Next, I'd like to give some advice to the athletes who are going to participate in the Beijing Winter Olympics. Just like what Pompeo said, the CCP will monitor everything you say and do, and you should definitely leave your phones and laptops at home. As soon as you connect to the CCP's internet, you don't know what will happen. Monitoring is a sure thing. Malware could also be installed without your knowledge. If that happens, even after you leave China, the CCP can continue to monitor you and collect information from your phone and laptop. Your facial information can also be gathered and stored. You just need to basically regard yourself as a naked person, a transparent person that can be seen through by the CCP's omnipresent monitoring system, and you are watched and listened to all the time. So bear this in mind and then decide what you do and say while in China. Well, that's all for today. Before you go, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like and share my videos, or go to my website at jenniferzengblog.com. Sign up for membership or support me by making a donation. Thank you. Have a nice weekend, and I'll see you next week.